Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Tyson Fury, he's no stranger to controversy. He's no stranger to criticism, and he'll tell anyone who'll listen that he's up for a fight. He'll fight someone in their back garden or car park for free, etc. You've heard it all before. And now he's locked in to face Deontay Wilder at the end of the year, in just his third fight back from a long layoff where he dabbled in drugs, drink, piled on the pounds, and he had some mental health issues. And some would probably argue that he's still not right in the head by opting to face a devastating puncher in WBC champion Deontay Wilder off the back of two relatively low-level comeback fights, one against a cruiserweight and the other against a faded former title contender. I mean, maybe he does have a screw loose, but that's always been an open question, and the video's not about that. It's about the suggestion that many have been making that Tyson Fury is looking to cash out, looking to sell his lineal championship status to Wilder in exchange for a few pieces of silver. Well, in this case, it's millions of dollars. And I can see why people are saying that. On the face of it, this situation, it's improbable that Fury is now in this position, given where he's recently come from. And even from his own mouth and his promoter Frank Warren, both of them had until recently been talking about doing the comeback right. Get 4 or 5 fights under the belt, slowly burn away the ring rust, work through the levels. But now a couple of those steps have been removed entirely, and it's straight into a title fight, just after 3 fights back, or this will be the 3rd fight back. I've said previously, I think Tyson Fury, say in 12 months or so, he would stand a much better chance against Wilder than he does in 3 months. And I'm not backing away from that statement. A fully fit and well-oiled Fury, after a proper comeback, stands a better chance. That's just my personal opinion. But there are a few things that I've seen from the Pianeta fight, coupled with some of the things from his recent training and a few other things I've been thinking about, that do make me think that Fury really believes he can beat Wilder, and that he doesn't want to wait another year. And it could also be that maybe he can't wait another year. And what I mean by that is Tyson Fury has generally struggled to maintain motivation and conditioning for long periods. Even earlier in his career, well documented, blowing up in weight between fights, not living the life, etc. If he was to continue this comeback, fight another 3 opponents of varying skill and risk, could he maintain his current trajectory in terms of weight loss and fitness? It's an open question. We have to consider that perhaps he can't. It would be a bridge too far, and perhaps he knows this. There could be an element of he feels he needs to strike while the iron is hot, while he's in shape, while he's put all this effort in. And consider that he's basically been training already for a full year. For the best part of a year, him and Ben Davison have been on the grind. They've really been putting that work in. He's dropped a huge amount of weight under Ben Davison. He's built up a decent level of fitness, and we saw that in the Pianeta fight. Maybe expecting him to push essentially for another year until a very big fight. Maybe that's expecting too much. They could have looked at where he's tracking and decided, actually, they could get him peaking in a few months' time. After which time, he'd obviously have a break of some sort, win or lose. So if we consider that the normal situation, for a fighter would be coming into a camp, needing to drop a bit of weight, work on general conditioning, get it up to sort of fight standard, work on the strength, the tactics, you could actually look at this current situation in a similar way and effectively look at it as a clean slate. So starting from this point. So it's just that the stakes are a lot higher in this instance, obviously, but the goal is still the same. Have a good camp, iron out some of the issues, and leave camp better than when you started it. And let's face it, he's going to have to look better, judging by that Pianeta performance, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't stellar at the same time. There was a lot of good in there, but it wasn't all quality. And that brings me to my next point. Tyson Fury, on his performance against Pianeta, he claimed it was a calculated performance. He said he wanted to slip and slide, use the jab, And overall, he was happy with the performance that he put in. And he said he needed the rounds. And yeah, he did need the rounds. And let's face it, Pianeta was effectively a heavy bag walking forward after Fury all night. But at different times, we did see Fury doing different things. And this sort of goes to his point about it being calculated. In the first round, he allowed himself to get backed up. He was testing his reflexes on the ropes. He was seeing how he held up against someone that he wasn't familiar with. It wasn't Ben Davison throwing punches his way. It's someone who he's familiar with the way that they throw and what's likely to be coming. We saw him testing his legs, using the ring, testing out where his fitness was really at. And having such a low-risk opponent, it allowed him to do this, work at a pace that he was comfortable with, and he did probably, let's face it, push it in spots at a higher pace than he really needed to. I mean, Pianeta was showing so little, he probably could have buttoned off even more than, the pace that he sort of set. And we did see in spots later in the fight, he was getting onto Pianeta's chest, he was getting inside, getting some work away, doing some different things up close. And he was also switching at different points to southpaw. And I actually expect he's going to be fighting in the southpaw stance against Wilder quite a bit. But he was doing these different things. It wasn't all one speed. He was giving us different looks. He was trying things. He was getting a read on where he was at and using Pianeta as a bit of a sort of yardstick. Did he look great? Well, not really. He did look good in snatches. And like I said in my post-fight, he did enough to keep me interested. There was enough that I saw there that was good that I thought, actually, there's still something here. And after watching the fight a second time, having heard what his comments were and what I was, a couple of things that I was looking out for, I do believe it was a calculated performance, to a large extent. He went in there to do certain things, test certain things, and that's what he was doing. His father, John Fury, after the fight said Fury was operating at about 40%, and he was holding some things back. How much stock you really put into that figure of 40%, well, that's over to you. I thought maybe he was operating somewhere around 70%. He was looking decent, but at the same time, it wasn't all working, it wasn't all clicking. Some things were off. But given where he's come from, it's no surprise that, the opponent was Pianeta, because someone with a real pulse would have landed more on Fury and put him under some real pressure, perhaps put him into some situations that he wasn't quite ready for right now. I mean, Deontay Wilder said before the fight he didn't expect Fury to show everything, primarily because he was there at ringside. He expected him to hold something back. But what Wilder did say was he was going to be looking at Fury's footwork, his technique, his movement, and he'd try to read his mind. And I think Fury showed us that there's something in the tank. And I know people have been piling in saying he looked dreadful, didn't look great. But from where he's come from, being completely inactive, to the Fury fight, to what we saw in the Pianeta fight, poles apart from that first fight was really more of an exhibition. And even the second fight was kind of like an exhibition. Tyson Fury just sort of getting in there for a decent spar to sort of try a few things on. But there was progression. And if he's able to really put in the work in the next few months, I think we are going to see a completely different Tyson Fury in a few months. Well, I guess that's the goal, isn't it? I did think his hand speed, movement in general, it was pretty good. And especially when you consider where he's come from. And we did have a sort of data point to judge it on, the Fury fight. I've been seeing a lot of people say that Fury was throwing powder puff punches. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he was delivering everything with bad intentions. I'm not going to say that by any means. But I don't think it was as feather-fisted as some people are making out. There were some shots that Fury was throwing, and he was really touching Pianeta up. He was hurting him in spots. But, I agree. Fury, he needs to keep building on his strength and conditioning for the Wilder fight. He's going to need to put as much mustard on his shots as possible against Deontay Wilder. But his team and Fury himself, they know what they need to do now. There's a trajectory he's following. He was never going to be peaking for the Pianeta fight, especially when they knew that this was a possibility going back a few weeks. They would have instantly been putting a plan in place to go, okay, this is what we need to do to get you ready by this date. And they're going to have him peaking in that fight against Deontay Wilder. Otherwise, he'll lose. So they've got to get him ironing out some things. Ironing out the kinks. And for the reasons that I've outlined about the training for so long, and can he keep it up for another year, and potentially holding some things back, and potentially trying these things out, working through some of that ring rust, I don't think that this is going to be a cash-out fight at all. I truly believe that Fury thinks that he's going to beat Deontay Wilder. And I do think he's likely to look much better physically, tactically, and is going to be more fluid against Deontay Wilder. So I don't believe it's a cash-out fight. But do I believe he wins? Well, that's completely another story. I believe he'll come prepared, and he could surprise some people. But that doesn't mean he's going to win. But I do think we're going to see a much better version of Tyson Fury come the end of the year when he fights Deontay Wilder. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.